So, Adam Woodward, Privato Winery, welcome to a conversation about wine and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this because it's really forward-looking, if you ask me.
Yeah,
And
it's
in an industry that's struggling, it's like, what are some of the things we can do to adapt and improve maybe the opportunity for selling wine, improve the conversation for wine, but also how to make a business prepare itself or get ready for, I think, what's coming. What do you think?
yeah. I mean, what's coming? Who knows what's coming, right? Let's
I'm
just
terrified. How about you?
yeah, yeah. Well, that's getting ahead of it and taking control yourself of your finances. That's after COVID and all that, it was a lot of people didn't necessarily agree with what was going on, and that's kind of what pushed me to kind of discover Bitcoin um, is the freedom aspects of it and how uh, government and other people can't control it. It just lives and exists out there, just like another law of nature, and it just works. So it's
So if I had Bitcoin, I could just right now, I could just go online. I could go to your shop. I could click on something, use my Coinbase or my wallet,
Yep,
transfer some Bitcoin, and you would ship me some wine. Is that how?
that's right. Yep, I've done it. I've been doing it for about a year now. So, and
All
if
right.
oh
So let's start at the beginning a little bit. Let's go back a little bit. So just as an introduction, Privato Winery is a BC winery. It sits in the Kamloops catchment, if you will, right? And it's part of the Thompson North Okanagan wine appellation. Is that right?
yeah, the Thompson Valleys.
Thompson Valley. Okay.
Yep,
Started by Debbie and John, your mom and dad.
yep.
In what year did they begin?
2010 was their first vintage, and then we opened in 2012.
I think the interesting thing you and I chatted about was that I met your mom. She came around when I was at Legacy Liquor Store, and I think it
Right?
was like 2018. This beautiful $45 reserve Pinot Noir that I was just so impressed. And from that point forward, Privato's always been sitting here like waiting for it to just explode and take over. But when you have boutique wine quantities like we do and like you guys do, it it doesn't get enough distribution, I think, to get enough attention, even though I would say if I mention Privato, most people are like, oh my God, the Pinot Noir. So, you know, there is a recognition, which I think is amazing. And so your story is you went to UBC, an engineer, you went to work on big construction projects in Canada, and something happened, and you had maybe you had a side hustle as I'm making cider, but
Yeah,
then you came back to Kamloops, like or to the family business.
yeah, that's right. I went to engineering school, did project management for a number of years, and I just wasn't happy with working for somebody else. I always kind of knew in the back of my mind I wanted to work for myself and start my own business. And I just thought, well, why wait? Let's just do it now. And, mom and dad had this wine business. And at the time, my wife who's a doctor, introduced us to our celiac diseases, or she has celiac and we're like super sensitive to it. And so we found ourselves drinking lots of cider as an alternative to beer. And so we were drinking lots of cider at the time, and I was thinking, well, what kind of a business can I do? Like mom and dad do this, but that's their thing. I kind of want my own thing. And then it just kind of clicked that, well, we really like cider, and mom and dad have a winery that has like all the equipment. Why don't we just try this cider thing and make a go of it? and that was in 2019, and or 2018. We launched in 2019, and we basically haven't looked back since, and we just been keeping going here since then.
Do you have any cans there? You can show the label or any props?
We're canning right now. I could take you
Oh,
through the cellar and show you the canning line.
do it.
Yeah.
Do
Okay.
you
I'll just
want
have,
to? Do you want to do that first, or should we just have a chat about, I mean, just,
yeah. Yeah. Let's keep chatting, and then
okay,
yeah, I can take you for a virtual tour afterward.
okay. I like that. Virtual tours are awesome, especially with, so COVID changed a lot of things for us, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. It sure
So
did.
I used to do in-person events, then COVID came along and it was like, okay, well, that's not an option. So Mark Shipway and I, we created like 21 online classes where we actually had we would invite people to bring wine and we would do like this conversation, slideshow. Mark would teach, about a particular region or a style of a grape, and a grape variety and a style of wine. And then I started working with wineries to help sell wine because we were like, oh my God, what's going to happen if COVID's locked down and we can't go out? Like everyone's going to sit at home and get bored, but they could also shop, which we contributed to that delinquent delinquent 6 months or whatever it was, where people were
Yeah.
just buying wine like crazy. The
Yep.
side effect of that, of course, is the reverse happens. Then people are like, oh, I gained 10 pounds. Oh, I have to stop drinking in my
Yeah.
closet.
Need to find a
Um,
balance.
but, Zoom became a possibility, and doing a live, walk through your facility is something that just becomes super possible and
Yeah.
brings people right into what you're doing, which I like. So
Yep.
we're going to do that. Let's talk about the impetus. So you talked a little bit about Bitcoin. It's unhinged is a word I would use, in that you said the ability to use it, to own it, is like really unregulated, regulated a little bit, but kind of like independent of the financial monetary system that we have in the world. So if you're in China or in, let's say, Japan, and you need your mom to send you money or someone to send you money, it used to be you had to go to a bank and you had to like give all the codes, and then they had a fee and it would take like a week at their discretion. And
Yep.
now it's instantaneous. Do you think that's one of the drivers, is that we need to move money around the world, or do you think it's a different driver?
Yeah, I think it's censorship resistant money. So it is regulated in that when you buy it, you have to like scan your ID and to report it to the government or whatever. So it's pseudonymous in that people kind of they can know how much you have and which address it where it lives
Resides.
essentially, but they can't stop you from sending it from A to B. And you might think, well, is that really an issue? Like, I can do that with my bank account. Like, why use Bitcoin? And it's, you know, um, you don't need the tool until you need it, kind of thing. So it's getting prepared ahead of something happening, like civilians who were at the Freedom Convoy protest. Regular people, just like me and you, were just going there because that's what they thought they believed in. And it's a cause that they supported. And because they decided to protest, they got their bank accounts frozen. So they couldn't buy a coffee, they couldn't pay their mortgage, they couldn't afford meals for their kids, because their bank account was turned off. So I think it's in that sense, it's really freedom money or sovereignty, because you have absolute control of that money, and it's not in a bank where they can just turn off the switch. So it, like I said, a lot of people might not think that that's important, but it is important to me and our company to have that ability. Um, so yeah, that's I think one of the many benefits of Bitcoin.
And that's is that the lightning rod for you? that people's accounts were frozen? And that was like, what the heck?
I think that was one point in sort of waking up to what was going on, and it just didn't make sense. And I was like, what? Like these people are just, going to peacefully protest, and that's from my point of view, that's what they were doing. Um, it depends on which media outlets you get your information on, but I'm
It's
a
quite a
big
hot, it's quite a hot topic, and it's quite a divisive topic, the protest itself. And so
it,
the measures that were taken to get people to leave the protest after I don't know how many days, that was, that's challenging. And I think for Canadians, we hadn't really seen anything like that before. So, but I think your point is like the far-reaching arm of the government or in, with the banks means that if you are doing anything that the government is concerned about, it's quite possible that all of your accounts will be frozen. That might be something that happens to criminals, but not to people, in your view, that were showing up to lend a voice to.
a lot of people, it doesn't happen very much, but it's getting more problematic. Like on, and here's another controversial one. Joe Rogan, on his podcast recently talked about a whole bunch of people who've been unbanked. Just one day get a letter from the bank that your values don't align with us, so we're
In
un
the US.
in the US, in Canada, a lot of people have been unbanked in Canada. There's like an old guy in Edmonton who just the banks won't work with him. And so
Well,
and
there's lots of things going on around where sort of source of income, where the money's coming from. And I think it's very interesting to me that we're kind of in a place in the world where everything's changing. And I think the adoption of something like Bitcoin, there's other currencies, other tokens and tokenization, and people who trigger responses like Elon Musk tweets something and everybody's like, oh my God, XRP. Yeah. It's
yeah.
like on fire. So maybe you could just walk us through, um, politics aside, walk us through, Bitcoin, how, like the how and the why, and well, we talked a little bit about why, but the how and like the average man. And if you want to kind of give us the Reader's Digest version, that's great. And I think in your notes to me, it was like there's really only one that is not legitimate. What's the word? You used it. The Bitcoin is its own ecosystem, unlike some of the other tokens.
Oh
Is that
shit. Bitcoin, not crypto.
crypto? Okay, so tell me when do we use the term crypto?
So crypto is basically, yeah, that was a one way to explain it. But crypto is you think of all these other alternative coins or altcoins, your Doge, your Ethereum, and all that.
How many are there?
There's thousands of them, and it's all noise, because basically there's at the top of each of those cryptos is a CEO, and there's a person controlling that crypto. They can add more, they can take some away, they can do marketing campaigns that says this is going to rip to the moon, and
They can
everybody
commit
piles
fraud.
in, and then they rug pull you and they sell at the top, and everybody gets wrecked.
That's the old
And
pump
that
and dump, isn't it?
pump and dump, exactly, classic. So it's
Well,
crypto, you
Sam
know,
Sam Altman, if I can just interject, Sam Altman, did he have an exchange or did he actually have a token or some?
Sam Altman, who was he? Was he?
Bankman-Fried, sorry,
Oh, SBF,
SBF, sorry,
Sam Bankman-Fried. So he had FTX exchange. So that's
exchange.
an exchange. So that's where you buy your Bitcoin. And so you can exchange your fiat for Bitcoin. And a lot of people, what they do is when they buy their Bitcoin, they leave it on the exchange. And that's like kind of, it's almost like leaving it
in the
in
bank
the
as a
bank,
savings
or
account or
you're
something.
leaving it with Sam Bankman-Fried. Sam
Mm,
Bankman-Fried has your money.
mm.
And so what you need to do is after you purchased it, you need to move it to your wallet and put it in your wallet where you control it.
What does a wallet look like?
You can have a hot wallet. There's a hot wallet and then there's a cold wallet. Two types. So hot wallet is basically connected to the internet. Cold wallet is not connected to the internet. So
Are there
hot wallet,
advantages, I'm
a hot
guessing?
wallet basically like it can live on your phone, and that's kind of like your everyday wallet that you would take out.
Is
You
that
don't
how you
take your
shop? You
That's how
shop with
you
a
would
hot
shop.
wallet?
Like I've got wallet of Satoshi on here that holds a couple $1,000, and then I can go and use that for buying my eggs and haircut or whatever.
Do you have your wallet on your phone like you press wallet like I do on my Google phone? And instead of the Visa card, it's your Bitcoin account, and then you or how does that process?
Yeah, so if I just go to here to wallet of Satoshi and I open it up, and then I've got basically my balance, which is a lot right now just because I've been buying a bunch of Bitcoin. But
What's going on there? Is that in bits or is that really in dollars?
Yeah, so this is sats. So a sat is there's 100 million sats in one Bitcoin. So if I just touch that again,
100 million. So you divide by 100 million, it's like 1,000.
yeah. So it's about 14 grand on
Okay.
here right now, and it's on this device, which is connected to the internet, which theoretically somebody could even just grab my phone, sign in, and then move it. Um, So that's the risk that I take is, I should actually move this to my cold wallet where it's stored securely. Nobody knows about it. It's not connected to the internet, so there's no risk of people hacking it. So those are kind of your two different options of storing it. So the issue with Sam Bankman-Fried was that a lot of people left their money on exchanges, and then what he was doing is he would say, well, he's got 1,000 Bitcoin on his exchange that he owes to other people, but he was actually taking that money or that Bitcoin that he said he had, and he was actually buying his own because he created his own crypto called FTT or whatever. And then he was just using that money to prop up his stock to make himself look better. And when people started cashing in and saying, no, I want my Bitcoin, or here, no, let's sell this Bitcoin for fiat, and they were taking the money out of his business, he got to a point where they ran out of money or they ran out of Bitcoin, and then everything crashed. So that's why
So,
you're dealing
so
with an
buyer
exchange.
beware, right? Or do you think those days are past?
Buyer still beware if you're dealing with an exchange. I would recommend there's two exchanges in Canada that are the best. You might pay higher fees for them, but it's Bitcoin Well and Bull Bitcoin in Canada. Those are the best because they're non-custodial. So basically, if you want to buy Bitcoin, you have to already have your wallet set up. And so when you buy it, it goes right to your wallet. They don't hold the Bitcoin for you at all. So that's the main thing to know is when you buy it, like don't leave that Bitcoin on an exchange because the famous saying with Bitcoiners is not your keys, not your coins.
Mm. And
Because you
keys
don't,
are, what are keys? Keys are where you're located on the blockchain. Is that the idea with keys?
so the keys is basically your password to
Oh,
access that Bitcoin or your ability to move that Bitcoin around. And the keys is not a conventional like just like a one phrase password. It's 12 words and it's a seed phrase. So it you can when you set up a wallet, it'll give you these 12 words, and that's linked to the protocol, to the technology. And basically those are your recovery phrases. And so you can basically You have to write those down, or you can get these devices that store that information for you, or you can get like a metal seed plate, and then you stamp in the words into this metal seed plate in case, your house burns down or whatever.
Heard crazy stories about this.
But the brilliant thing about the seed phrase is that you can theoretically memorize these 12 words, and then the Bitcoin's in your brain, and nobody can, and you can walk across the border, you can do whatever you want, go wherever you want. Whereas before, try taking 5 gold bars across the border.
Well, you can't take $10,000 or you can't take $10,000 across the border without declaring it. I think you have to tell the
Yeah.
border guards. And then I don't know what happens after that because I've never done it, but and I also think when you're in the US, you can't withdraw from ATMs and things like that more than a set amount of money. And I mean, I don't have enough experience with like large sums of cash, so I would like those. But
Exactly.
But
And
when you hear about people buying $53 million homes in Vancouver from offshore, you're kind of like, well, how did they transfer all that money? Like, how does that even work? So when
yeah,
I
and that is another benefit too. Like my wife's family's in Cape Town, South Africa, and like, okay, let's send them $1,000 because they need it, or
Christmas
whatever.
money,
Like
Christmas money, right?
Christmas money,
Yeah,
whatever, or maybe you do business down there, and you're sending monthly transactions, and it costs $100 to do a transaction, and it's slow as hell, takes forever,
yeah,
and like each bank just takes
yeah,
a certain amount, and it's like these banks aren't providing any value.
yeah,
Like forget these guys, like just let's do a lightning transaction, and it's essentially free, and it's instant, and it's verified, and you're done.
yeah.
And you can just bring up a QR code on your phone, get your mom to scan it or input the invoice details, and then it's sent and it's done.
Do you have, in order to send and receive, then you need to have some compatibility at both ends that it's not like it can't go into your bank account, or can it?
You can, so that's where you would need an exchange
Oh,
again.
I see. Right, right,
So you
right.
can exchange it right back, and corporations can hold Bitcoin as well, and you can pay
Oh, I
your
see.
bills with Bitcoin through these exchanges, notably Bitcoin Well and Bull Bitcoin. These two exchanges they got a lot of features where you can essentially live on a Bitcoin standard, where you have all your value in Bitcoin.
So the impetus to sell wine using Bitcoin, was that like a test?
Like
Well, from a business standpoint, you're a leader. I don't know anyone else in Canada selling wine using Bitcoin. So there was a business decision made, and I'm just curious around I mean, it's not something you do lightly.
No, and Bitcoin for me, the more I read about it and studied it, the more I was convinced of it. And I get to a certain point, and I'm like, well, this technology, it's revolutionary. It's going to change the world. We're at where the internet was in back in 95. That's 95, 96. That's where we are right now with Bitcoin. Like, let's let's be first to this because it's such a revolutionary technology. And so, and it's important to start to build out the technology. Let's build this new world that we want to live in, where we're not controlled, and we we have the ability to exchange freely without government extortion, as I like to call it. Um,
Well, there's government extortion, but there's also like, I'm just going to tell you, I'm a senior. And I recently updated my bank account to have the seniors account. It's supposed to be great and low fees and ba 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 ba. And if you keep a minimum balance and ba ba ba. And so the minimum balance is not a low number. But if you don't keep that balance in and it triggers fees, I was like looking at it yesterday, it's like $20 worth of fees for a senior's account. And I was like, that's $240 a year. That's insane. And
yeah,
luckily, I don't have that issue, but I just thought, how many people, especially today, are just getting feed to death. And if, for example, if that's one of the metrics for how banks are making money, and Bitcoin is functioning outside of that, and people migrate to that, there's a whole shift that's going to take place. It's going to take time, as you said, but like 10 years from now, maybe not even that long, buying wine for Bitcoin might be more common. So I'm just curious what you think about the sort of timeline. What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people say gradually, then suddenly. A lot of people talk about hyper Bitcoinization of it happening very quickly. And yeah, I don't know exact if it. I can't predict the future,
Yeah.
but I mean it. I believe it could happen very quickly in that maybe a lot of people start to simply just buy it and hold it. And initially when people get into it, they buy it and they hold it and they're like this investment and restores my sovereignty and like why would I want to spend it?
Yeah, I think that might be more common than we think, but it is not, it is a way to exchange goods.
Yeah, and eventually I think you get to a point where it's like, well, you want to interact with other Bitcoiners because they hold the same values as you. So you want to be spending at their business and using it to create that circular economy. I think that's very important to do to start. You're basically building that new system by you spending the money, and it helps educate others on the technology by simply just using it. Um,
So what are the products that you're buying with Bitcoin? Like, let's just say, okay, so you sell wine and you sell cider and you sell whatever products are coming out of Privato. What are you buying? Is there some marketplace that's like a Bitcoin marketplace? And then you just go on that and you can say, hey, I want my groceries and I don't know, like,
Yeah, there are websites where you can buy gift cards with Bitcoin. Bit
oh,
Refill is one, and you can buy all sorts of different gift cards. That's if you are living on a Bitcoin standard. You got to be careful with like companies that offer like visas and stuff because essentially, like they say, oh well, you just use your Bitcoin, but essentially you're just paying off a credit card bill with your Bitcoin, and you're not actually spending Bitcoin. So.
can you live without using cash?
Yeah, I think there are people doing it. With these exchanges, you can pay taxes and bills. Any sort of big company, you can pay bills. They've just set up um, these interoperable companies that basically they act sort of like a bank in a way. They're just routing your Bitcoin to the right destination for you because City Hall in Kamloops here, they don't have a Bitcoin address to send something to, but they can take it, they'll take your Bitcoin, basically convert it back to fiat, and
Yeah.
then send it to them, um, rather than you sending the fiat.
Well, what
Um,
is that called? Is it currency exchange? Is there a name for it when you're changing Bitcoin into cash rather than like could you go to like a currency exchange and say, hey, I've got Bitcoin here and I need, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I mean, just the normal exchanges, Bull Bitcoin and Bitcoin Well, those are the guys who can handle all those
and they're
tasks for you.
online, right? They're an
Yep.
app and they're online and they're super secure and
Yeah, I highly recommend them. They're all online. I've met the owners of these companies and just really good people, and they're just driving innovation. Um, and yeah, you can easily set yourself up on either of the exchanges and easily buy Bitcoin. And they're super receptive. If you have issues, you just put in the comments and they'll help you out like right away. Um,
oh, this is fascinating. So have you got a business plan that's forecasting how much wine you're going to sell by Bitcoin in 2025?
Not really, not yet, but it's something I need to work on. I've sold maybe 15 or 20 cases in the last year with Bitcoin, which it's not nothing. It's not like it's a
No, it's
hundred or a
something.
thousand, but it's a good place to start. And
Well, when you're a winery that only makes 2,000 cases, well, I don't know what the magic number is for you guys. Where are you at in terms of volume?
yeah, we're doing 5,000 now in wine and about 60,000 liters of cider.
Wow. And tell me, when you forecast, and I mean, we all forecast because we need to have some metric to work against. Um, how do you like sort of, is there a year that you're like, I've got 2028 in sight and we're going to be 50-50, or I got, and I mean, I know you can't predict the future, but you're a smart guy, Adam. So, I mean, I know it's running around in there, even if it's not, in writing. So I'm just curious because I'm also thinking that this idea that it's part of the business plan now means that it's going to be on the radar for other wineries. And then, BC is a bit of a, I always think this, BC isn't a latent market for anything, especially adaptive technologies. And while there's always controversy and conversation, there's a lot of first in people, whatever, gravity feed wineries, and I'm not saying that these are costly and there's like a lot of minds at play here, but we don't want to be left behind. I think that's a really strong sentiment in our industry. And I also think that when you see how wine production has changed and the quality of wine has improved so dramatically, I just feel like, keeping that momentum going despite climate crises like we have, you can see this is happening. So, what's the year we all get on board? What's the year 50% of your sales is? I'm putting you on the spot.
It's a good question, and it's to be honest, I haven't put a plan together like that, but it's funny you do ask it because it's something that I've wrote down. I just had another meeting before this one where I spoke about Bitcoin and that, and I'm just like, I've been in it for a year. That's phase one. Phase two. What the heck is phase two? Let's take this. That's where it gets really fun, I think, because now we can talk about 10x ideas where we're really changing things. And when you have a vision of 10x, that's what really drives innovation because you're forced to think differently. If a race car is driving 100 miles an hour and you're trying to figure out how to shave off a few seconds, you're just focusing on taking corners a little bit quicker. But if you're going twice as fast, that's a whole different ball game. And so you're going to have to think about redesigning the whole car and getting aerodynamics in and
Hmm.
really just kind of stripping everything back and starting from fresh. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Bitcoin stuff right now is like where like developing that vision and what's gonna basically offer the most value to people and I get joy and I'm happy when I can share and educate people about this technology because when you first find out about it, you just want to tell everybody and everybody's just like, oh, you're kind of crazy, like, or they just brush you off. But it's it's hard not to when you finally see it and you get it, and it's like, oh, okay, like this is this is something here. So it's for me, if I can orange pill all of Canada, which is basically orange pilling is kind of the matrix. You get the red or the blue pill, but with Bitcoin, it's you take the orange pill. And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. So
Yes, I know someone who took their entire pension, purchased Bitcoin when it was $25,000, and people were like, like there's always many sides to the conversation. So it is a risk, but I like to think people are taking educated risks. I would ask you, is there a place where people can go to, like, do you have a series of videos? Do you have like speaking engagements? How can people follow you, Adam, and kind of tag into the, not only the winemaking and the beautiful wines and cider, but also, you know, future looking, forward looking processes and business constructs that, you know, maybe they want to adapt.
Yeah, the best place for me to kind of stay up to date with things that I'm doing is just on X, on Twitter. At
Oh, you're not on Blue Sky?
No, I didn't even know about Blue Sky until a couple of
Yesterday.
weeks ago, until everybody was making fun of it. That's when I first learned about it. So no, I'm not on.
Are you buying XRP?
No. I
So,
did. I used to own it. I went down. So when a lot of times when people first get into Bitcoin or crypto, they go down the crypto rabbit hole or the shitcoin rabbit hole, and you go and you start buying all these different altcoins and XRP. I own Cardano and all Ethereum,
oh,
and I sold all of them. The more I studied Bitcoin, the more I realized that that was the only true asset, because nobody controls it at the end of the day. It just exists.
and
Um,
it's a finite, there's a finite number.
yeah, there's a hard cap of 21 million, and there's something like 20 million of them now have been issued. It's like 95% already out there in existence. And so, and then the last 5% are going to be issued over the next 120 years. So that's how it's very different as well, is we're building upon a hard cap supply. And that's why it is so volatile, but you kind of get these 4-year cycles where it does tend to increase in value when you compare it to the US dollar.
Do you actually see it as a dollar amount, or you just see it as Bitcoin?
I'm kind of halfway between the two right now, but that is a really good way to look at it, is that a lot of people say one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin,
Right.
and
Not
it's, don't tie
$1 million.
it to a dollar value. But I mean, you can look at its buyback potential, because if you look at the average home price in 2016, and it was, say, $300,000, and that was worth 1,000 Bitcoin, and in 2020 the home price is now worth 500,000, and it only costs 400 Bitcoin. And then today, you know, that same house is going to be 650, 700,000, and it costs 20 Bitcoin to buy. And that's a deflationary nature of the technology. And that, I think that's, you need to look at the Bitcoin price in like a logarithmic scale versus a linear, because the human brain can't really comprehend a logarithmic scale, unless the scale is, of course, in logarithmic. Then you can actually kind of see how exponentially it increases.
So I'm going to ask you another question, and this isn't in your bailiwick, but what's the connection between, if there is one, between, you know, what's happening, blockchain, Bitcoin, uh, artificial intelligence, which I call algorithmic scraping, algorithmic intelligence. In other words, it's just fast. It's not that it's smart. It just can scrape the information that's available on the World Wide Web. And there's like
Right.
billions of, anyway, so is there a connection between all of these things? And is there something that you think draws you to more of your business plan around, I'm going to use AI in conjunction with Bitcoin because, you know, I have a website and the AI is going to do the selling, and it's going to, so I don't have to be here anymore, and it all happens automatically, including the transaction.
Yeah, I think like everybody, we need to keep innovating and looking at technologies like AI to see where we can implement it within our companies, whether it's at the seller level or the sales or the marketing. We're probably using it in a few ways already that maybe we don't even know. But in kind of the aspect of joining them together, working together. I think it is a possibility. I just, like I said, I'm still trying to work on that vision, get the vision figured out, and then figure out how to get there. Using and leveraging all these technologies and innovating. So I think there's absolutely, you're going to have to get on board with different technologies to help scale this thing.
You have an important role to play in the industry because you are on the board of directors for, isn't it the BC Wine Growers Association? Is that
Yeah.
correct? Do you want to talk a little bit about, just briefly, like the role you play and sort of, you know, where you think you're going to, you have a 2-year term or a 3-year term, and then you're going to become the president? What's the plan? Is there a plan?
Yeah, with wine growers, I've been with them for a couple of years now, and I've got 1 year left on my term. Yeah, first time in the role, and it's been a really good learning experience. And it's quite funny because when I first sort of got recruited for it, it was like, oh yeah, it's just a sort of monthly, or you know, every quarter we have a meeting, and there's you know, a committee that you got to do, but it's not that much of a time commitment. And then the last 2 years happened. And it's just been like, okay, welcome to your weekly board meeting here, where we have to solve the issue of the week. You know, whether that's the issues with Alberta or climate, the cold weather stuff, and or the industry leadership stuff. It's been a whirlwind, and it's been very challenging, to say the least. But it's I think we're making good progress now, with the new board that we have too, and just some of the latest events throughout the summer, the EGM that happened. And you know, it's there's some conflict, but I think we're all we're getting to a spot where we're working together a bit better. So it is I'm excited for the future of it. There's some good changes happening.
Well, I think, you know, committees can be time consuming. We had the issue in Alberta where they wouldn't take our wine. The government, was it the government that decided suddenly we want more tax, or what? I don't know what the impetus was exactly. I'm assuming it was tax. But then there was 2 years of deep freeze, you know, that killed vines. So now where are we going to get grapes to keep the industry alive? So these were all like, you know, you have a business, it's like a business. You have a plan, and then that goes to the, you know, to hell in the handbasket, because now there's other things that are really happening that you need to react to and address.
Yeah.
So, what do you think like, if you could just kind of say something optimistic, because right now it doesn't feel like that, even though we're kind of seeing the other side now. And, you know, we've got people crushing Washington grapes and making wine and doing new labels and like trying to identify it separately. And there's like, what do you think your message would be to like consumers, wine industry, wine consumers? Like, don't go away, go visit the Okanagan, or don't go away, drink BC wine, or maybe there's something else you would say, you know, like.
Yeah, from the winery perspective, I just say, like, you got to keep going and stay up to date with the changes, and keep innovating is number one. If you become stagnant and don't innovate, then you're eventually gonna go by the wayside. For the consumers, I would say keep looking forward to drinking BC wine, and
And BC.
wines that are made in BC. You know,
Yeah.
that's the people here that are making it and making it into something special, because it is a local product.
I did the BC
And
wine tasting challenge this past few months at Kelowna at the lake house. And I would have to say that the great delight, it's always like, I feel like I'm playing Russian roulette, you know, I pick a BC wine and an international wine and I'm like, oh God, like I just hope the BC wine comes through, you know, because you don't know.
Yeah.
And I was trained on international wine, and the amazing and delightful outcome has been that BC surprises and delights every time. And that just speaks to what we talked about when kind of first started, that there's been this like 10 years of like improvements overall, and whether it's farming or the technology in the winery or whatever, you know, winemakers coming from all over the world and skill sets improving and sharing information. It's really making a difference. And I think just people forget to look in their own backyard. They don't have to look too far to find wine of a place, a quality wine, and at a right price. Like that was the other discovery, is that most of the BC wines are underpriced, undervalued. You know, California $50, BC $35, and the $35 one is like miles ahead of the $50 California wine. So we need to do more of that. We need to demonstrate that, I think,
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
consumers. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's a bit of work to be done there, but
totally.
yeah,
Don't stop.
don't
Just keep
stop.
going.
Just keep going. Yeah.
So are you part of a sustainability, what is it, BC Wine, Sustainable Wines of British Columbia? Is that what it's called? Sustainable wine. Is there any thoughts you have about those things in the vineyard, viticultural, low
I'm not a
intervention?
part of, I've looked into doing that stuff and I just don't think I don't know.
Well,
It's like, okay, let's jump through these hoops to call ourselves sustainable, but we're naturally sustainable. We're
and
grown in BC.
you also need a pocket full of tools at the 50th parallel to make sure that, I don't know, you survive.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in Kamloops.
We're in Kamloops. I mean, I think
A
that
lot
on its
colder
own is
here.
a huge, that's a huge innovation. Like, anyway, uh, did I ask all the right questions? Is there anything you want to share?
Um, yeah, maybe just more on the Bitcoin stuff on like why accept Bitcoin? Like for me it goes to the people who are buying it. I want to connect with the customers who are willing to pay in Bitcoin because we share the same values. At the end of the day, like Bitcoiners just have, you know, they share the values of basically freedom and sovereignty. And so and people who can really educate themselves and think through difficult tasks. Like for you to buy and hold Bitcoin from 2021 to now, um, that's not easy to do, especially when it's a large amount. When you bought in at 60,000 US and then it tanks down to 15,000 US and then it goes back up, you know, that's something super, you got to be super convicted that this technology is a great technology, and just trusting the process and trusting yourself and the research that you've done. And so, yeah, by accepting Bitcoin, you can connect with these types of people who share the same values, who have the same conviction, and know that you're providing a good product to them. Because everything that you know, Bitcoiners produce, shouldn't say every one of them, but you know, if you share those same values, you're going to be getting a good product from somebody who's a Bitcoiner. So yeah, it sort of it opened my doors to that customer base essentially, by marketing on Twitter and getting myself out there. I'm kind of putting myself in front of a different market and strategically trying to get them as my customers. So yeah,
What
that was
the
one.
values, so values-led business? you know, that's going to shape your life, your business, your life. So I think there's a lot of value in that. I would ask you, how much of a Bitcoin do I need to buy a bottle of Privato? Your favorite, I was like reading, you love Cab Franc, which I love Cab Franc, and you're enjoying the Pinot Noir Grand Reserve 2019, which I'm sure no one else can get. But like, how much of a Bitcoin do I need to, pardon me, buy a bottle?
Yeah, well, it's online. If you go to privato.ca and you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll find a tab that says Pay with Bitcoin, and that brings you to our online store.
Should
And
I just should I just see if I can do that right now? Or do you how much?
sure.
I don't know how much time you have left. We want to do a little tour, and
Yeah, yeah, we'll probably wrap up in 10 minutes or so.
okay, so you
I can,
scroll down to the bottom, you click on Bitcoin, and then it tells you how much you need to contribute. Is that right?
yeah, yeah.
And
Or even on my Twitter profile, there's the link there, takes you right to our store.
what's the number? Is it a fluctuating number?
So yeah, no, it's a held number in Canadian dollars. So we're charging
Oh, I see. So the price doesn't change because it's the price in Canadian dollars. So
yeah.
that's fiat currency basis. It's not, yes, okay. Do you do,
Yeah, and then it just attaches to the
okay.
exchange rate of Bitcoin. So it depends on when you buy it. And you know, if Bitcoin's at 95,000 US right now, then a bottle of Pinot Noir is still $39. And if I remove these other ones, uh, I'll fill out all that. Maybe it'll work. Yeah. 0.00029822 Bitcoin.
And when you started, do you remember what it was?
Uh, that's a good question. Let's look at Bitcoin price. And 1 year ago, the price was 42,000. 42,000. So it's price was half back then.
So it really just fluctuates with the value of
Yeah.
Bitcoin and the currency and our currency. Anyway, interesting. All right,
Yeah.
should we go on a tour?
Sure. See if I can just transfer it to my phone.
Okay. And what are you bottling today?
Our Blue Tractor cider.
Can I buy the cider in Vancouver now that I'm in Vancouver?
Oh, are you in Vancouver?
I just did some random make a change, make a break. I'm not spending. Kelowna is a little cold for me. I'm such a left coasty. Oh, I don't know. So I'm sitting in North Van above the fog, which is amazing. Bright
Oh,
sunshine.
that's good at least.
Yeah. And the drive yesterday, amazing through the mountains. It was white, snow, blue sky, clear roads. Awesome.
So
Just
I'm just gonna jump on here.
Here we go.
Recording in progress.
So if you turn off your laptop and turn on your phone, there you go.
Okay. So did you just move down there like yesterday?
Yeah.
Jeez, you just packed up everything.
I was just like, okay,
You're like,
I'm on
see you
my
later,
way.
Jade. I'm out of here.
Just for a couple months. Then maybe we'll see where that takes me. But life is to be lived and an adventure is all part of that. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Nice. Okay. Well, let's
Welcome to Privato
Woodward.
and the winery.
Flip the camera around.
All right. Well, we don't mind seeing you, but oh, it went
Okay.
to a black screen. Okay, you might have to do the
Can you see me again?
yeah, we see you. When you turned it around, it did a black screen.
Okay. All right. Do this.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Craig. Good, how are you?
What are we doing
Yeah.
there? Oh, those are your cans.
Do the cans going on right now. And that's Craig. Say hello to Craig. Hey.
Nice
Craig
beard.
owns-
I like the beard. That's awesome.
yeah. Craig owns Okanagan Canning Co.
And how much will, okay, cool. And so this is a mobile canning line.
Yep.
And how many cans will you do?
Today we're gonna do about 10,000 cans.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. So
And and tell me again do you have a finished product there you can show me?
yep. Yeah, we'll get to the end of the line here.
Okay,
This is the lot coder, puts the lot code on the cans.
traceability,
What's that?
traceability.
Yeah, traceability.
Ah. So how many in a minute, do you know? How
What's
many in a
that?
minute? Cool.
I don't know.
That's all right.
The labels get put on.
Aha, blue tractor. And what's the feature of blue tractor?
So Blue Tractor is a tractor on the farm here that step outside. Oh, very loud in there. Blue Tractor is a tractor on the farm. It's an old Ford 3600 that me and my brothers all spent many hours on growing up here and working on the farm. And so it's just the old trusty blue
Right.
that still works like a clock today. Works a great tractor, and yeah, it's just a tribute to it and all the memories we've had on it growing up.
I love it. Is it an original flavor then? Is it like classic apple cider?
Yep,
Is
it's
it-
our classic modern dry cider.
And what would it sell for in the store, do you know, off the top of your head?
Retail, it's gonna be between $6 and $7.
Great.
Yeah.
Now I have to go find some.
Yeah.
Look at the blue sky. You've got a great day.
Yeah. Well,
Welcome to
Kamloops is better than Kelowna for
sunshine.
overcast weather.
Yeah.
The Okanagan Valley always gets socked in with clouds, and we're a little bit better here. But
When I was leaving, I thought, oh my God, it's going to snow. And I was terrified. And I got up the connector, came out around the summit, and it was just blue sky. It was amazing. And the rest of the day, 11 degrees in Chilliwack. I was like, what? So yeah, pretty nice.
buddy.
Yeah. Any final parting words? It's been a slice.
What's that?
Any final words?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
That was fun.
Very fun. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
They
thank you.
can find you in Kamloops. They can find you on X. They can
Yeah.
follow you on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. I'm not really on Instagram, but Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff.
Okay. And Privato has a website, privato.com, privatowinery.com.
Yeah, privato.ca, and we're active on Instagram and Twitter, or not Twitter. Well, a little bit on Twitter, but Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. Well,
And
my
Woodward.
motto is life is short, drink good wine. I consider Privato good wine. I do love cider, so it all fits in nicely. And I really appreciate the insight into Bitcoin, and can't wait to see what happens in the coming, it's like the coming month, but in the coming year. So all the best, Adam.
Yeah. Thanks, Barb. It was good chatting with you.
Thanks so much. I'm just going to turn off this recording.